been a champion.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of like weirdness going on with possibilities and, you know, just luck, bad luck, and good luck.
Bad luck and good luck, timing, I think, is a big thing.
How is something like this allowed to happen? How is Jake Paul allowed to fight Gervonta Davis? It's completely unfair. It is completely just, I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled.
And then going out there and taking on a guy that is maybe 92 pounds heavier, that is at least 65 pounds heavier than you. That is called one thing. That's called being a bully.
Joe Rogan harshly condemns Jake Paul for taking on Gervonta Davis, despite the massive size difference. He emphasizes that weight divisions exist to ensure fighter safety, and that disregarding them leads to serious dangers. In his view, Jake seems more interested in hyping the spectacle than maintaining boxing integrity. The main worry is that Jake's significantly bigger build and strength could seriously injure Tank, making the fight both risky and pointless indeed.
Sure, but no time limit within the weight class.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That would be pretty that would be pretty wild.
Yeah, that'd be pretty
Because
crazy.
you know, like two guys are facing off each other, like, and they know, like, there's no rescue every 5 minutes.
Yeah. And you go into it knowing you're either getting knocked down or submitted, or you're doing that to the other person.
Michael Bisping voices major doubts about Jake Paul's choice to fight Gervonta Davis, given the extreme weight gap. He notes that Jake is set to face an opponent nearly 100 pounds lighter, which completely disrupts the sport's natural fairness. Bisping mentions that the planned bout with Mike Tyson was already controversial, considering Tyson's age of 58 and long retirement. Now, the matchup with Tank Davis deepens the criticism, as it seems driven not by fair competition, but by Jake's pursuit of personal advantage. Bisping insists that boxing depends on balanced matchups, yet this one leans so much toward Jake that it appears less a true contest and more an attempt to gain profit at the cost of Tank's safety.
Being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the baddest man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and like that. It's like, dude, what are you doing? What don't you understand about this? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to take on challenges that are real. You have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real. Not going up against someone that is so small. If you were to go up to this guy in a bar and try and start a fight with them, people would look at you and say one word, whoa, stop being such a bully, leave him alone. You are way bigger than this guy. And that's clearly what we have here. It is ridiculous. When you look at the tail of the tape, Gervonta Tank Davis, granted, a very, very skilled boxer, a world champion. He's had some great wins. He's had a tremendous career. He's got 28 knockouts on his record. I'm just looking at the tail of the tape here. 30 years old, Jake Paul, 28. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" tall, whereas Jake Paul is 6'1". I would never dream on picking on a guy that is 5'5" tall. Granted, there's some tough guys out there that are 5'5", okay? They're smaller guys, you know, but for 5'5", they'll pack a good punch. Typically, they're mixed martial artists or boxers, yeah.
Yeah, Teddy Atlas responds to the face-off between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis, emphasizing the massive size disparity. He jokes that Tank is so small next to Jake, he'd practically need a ladder just to land a punch on his chin. Although Atlas acknowledges that variations in skill and style are normal in boxing, he insists that this particular size gap is far beyond acceptable limits. Tank is simply too physically small to reach Jake effectively, making the matchup look uneven and unbalanced right from the beginning.
He's right. They should also have like the size of the ring, the size of the glove, all that stuff. Particulars should be in the contract, but I would probably look for one thing that is not the common thing to have in a contract if I'm Tank. A ladder. A ladder. Can I get a ladder? Somebody? You know what I mean? Hey, look, if he hits him on the chin the way he can punch, You know, Jake might be doing a dance. You know what I mean? Not voluntarily either. But we'll get into that more later. The thing that I'm talking about right here is what you said. It was stark. The size difference was really, you couldn't ignore it. We understand the talent difference, the experience difference. We understand all of that. But the size, the pure, and we understand small guys can beat big guys. We just saw Crawford do it to Canelo, but you know, a little different. The size difference was, I mean, it was eye-catching, jaw-dropping, and it made me think. And I'm gonna ask Richie, our man here who's doing all the taping, who's done such a marvelous job. I'm gonna ask him because I know he's an expert in this area. But it reminded me of one of the Rocky movies where they had the face, where they did the wrestling thing with Rocky and Hulk Hogan, a.k.a. Thunderlips. It was Thunderlips back there.
Joe Rogan.
My opinion is, I just want to say, in case someone calls me into court, I'm a fucking idiot and I don't know nothing. And don't take my advice.
I love the Saudis.
Don't take my opinion.
I love the Israeli government. I love everybody.
That had nothing to do with them. That was Jake Paul promoting it. You know, it's just like, doesn't bother me.
There's compromising the sport, and that's like bad. It's just like
if I bet on it,
watching
it
it
bothers
is
the fuck out
hard.
of me.
Watching it with people who are so in on it, and then also man, the sports betting apps, they introduced like chat apps in them in Australia. So it's like they're trying to take the place of social media companies where you go together and you meet your friends. Like betting should be exciting enough without having a weird.
They're just trying to draw you in.
thing.
They're just trying to make money, right? So they're trying to draw you in any way they can.
They can. Leonard Ellerby explains that Tank Davis wasn't mentally ready to face Lamont Roach. He mentions that Tank had been dealing with several personal issues and didn't want to add more pressure during that period. This lack of drive is the main reason the fight never took place, despite fans anticipating it. Ellerby indicates that Tank was prioritizing his personal stability over competition, and choosing not to fight Roach was his way of avoiding extra stress and maintaining focus on his well-being. Reports suggest that Gervonta Davis plans to retire after his upcoming fight with Jake Paul. Sources indicate that this choice is motivated less by legacy goals or title pursuits, and more by the chance to achieve long-term financial security. Observers believe Tank accepted the fight mainly for the guaranteed payout, rather than for sporting ambition or career growth. This positions the matchup as a business move rather than a genuine athletic step forward. Analysts also note that Tank has faced major personal and professional pressures lately, which could be influencing his decision to engage in a high-profile yet unconventional bout. Viewed this way, the Jake Paul fight seems like a strategic effort to maximize income and ensure stability before leaving the sport for good.
Like, let's go band for band on what you make. Again, there's nothing wrong with Tank going to get his money, but let's all be clear that that's all the fight is for Tank. He's telling you without telling you that he's fighting Jake just because he's getting $40 million. So when we talk about boxing being dead, Tank has to line up at the front of the line. I can't blame him, but don't throw around, oh, boxing's dead and people switch sides and all of that. You chose not to be great. That's it. You chose not to be great. Stuff like that, choices like that will kill boxing. For sure. On a competitive level, it won't kill it on a business level. On a business level, until people run out of interest in these kind of matchups, it'll do well. On a competitive level, choosing not to fight the best will kill the sport. So maybe it's better if people like Tank aren't in the sport. And I don't even say that because I want that to be the case. I think Tank is ridiculously talented, but you can't want a fighter to fight more than what they want to. You can't. Tank fans or Tank people that like Tank and think he's one of the best, you can't want it for him. And then Shakur came back with, that's how I know you soft. I can't even go back and forth with you, soft ass. You'd rather pop to me on social media than get in that fire and get embarrassed. I get it. Peace and blessings upon you, cuz. He says, the people got your chest out so bad. You talking like you a killer, forgetting that you the one that runs, bitch. I'll be bring the fight to you. This dude, a made-up character. Quote, blessings upon you. Clown-ass dude, wanna be Kevin Gates. Oh my goodness. I mean, here's the thing though. You can't say that stuff about Shakur if you're not willing to fight him. This is the point I think that we're going to come to today, is that Tank can say all this stuff he wants, but if you're not willing to fight Shakur, then none of it means anything anymore. Even if you believe that Tank is going to knock him out, even if you believe that Shakur's a runner, or that he's not in the trenches, or he's not a boxer that's willing to bring the fight, or whatever, none of it matters. You're talking from the sideline because you won't fight him.
Daniel Cormier voices his disbelief over how the fight between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis was ever approved. From his standpoint, the entire setup appears flawed from the outset. He recalls the press conference where Tank seemed unsure about the fight's weight class, a moment Cormier sees as a clear sign of how disorganized and irregular the arrangement is in a sport built on weight divisions for safety and fairness. The confusion surrounding this matchup is, to him, deeply troubling. Cormier also highlights the massive size difference between the two fighters, stressing that Jake Paul is far too large for Tank, and that this imbalance cannot be dismissed. In his opinion, the fight pushes beyond acceptable limits in boxing, and he openly questions how such an uneven bout received official approval. Cormier believes the mismatch not only compromises the sport's integrity, but also endangers the smaller fighter. To him, this event exposes how boxing sometimes sacrifices competitive legitimacy for the sake of entertainment value.
Jake Paul. Yesterday they had their first press conference. One of the most recognizable things is Jake Paul is huge compared to Gervonta Davis. And two, Gervonta Davis don't even know what weight they fight, dude.
Maximum weight of 195 pounds for this exhibition. The fight will be contested over 10 3-minute rounds. I said it was 190. The fight is 195 pounds, Tank, as you know.
DC, I watched this, and we have our priorities way misplaced when we're talking about boxing. Like, everybody's complaining about this Ali act and all. Like, how is something like this allowed to happen? How is Jake Paul allowed to fight Gervonta Davis? It's
I don't know.
Completely unfair. It is completely just, it's, I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled, but this fight should not be happening. And the press conference was embarrassing. Gervonta Davis should not have a mic in front of him. It was absolutely embarrassing watching this thing.
D, why, D?
Just the fact that, like, every time when Jake Paul would say something to Gervonta Davis, he didn't know how to answer it. He was comparing himself to, like, P. Diddy at moments, and I was like, oh my God, get a mic away from this guy. This fight shouldn't be happening. And then he didn't even know what weight they were fighting. He's like, I thought it was 190, it was 195.
That was the craziest thing. That was the thing that stood out to me the most. Was that when they go, the rehydration limit or something is 195. And he goes, wait, I thought it was 190. Dean, that's bad.
Gervonta Davis looks back on his career and admits that his initial goal was never to become a boxing champion. Instead, he says his main focus was earning enough to transform his life and escape difficult circumstances. For him, boxing served as a pathway to a better future rather than a pursuit of fame or titles. His true ambition centered on achieving financial security and stability, not legendary status in the sport, a reality that helps explain the choices he's making now.
And while he's fighting YouTube sensation turned professional boxer Jake Paul, who is 12 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 7 wins by way of knockout, opposed to fighting against the likes of his peers who are well accomplished and superstars in their own right, for legacy fights like Shakur Stevenson, like Teofimo Lopez, like Devin Haney, why he's not interested in those fights. And he gets real, right? He gets real, and only thing we could do is salute it, right? Because he's saying, I never told y'all I wanted to be a world champion. I never told y'all I wanted to be undisputed. I got into this for myself and my circumstances to escape from my circumstances. And that's real. We can't blame him for that. We hold him in high regard because the statements he's made and misled people when he said he got a hit list that he wants to check off before he retires, and that hit list includes Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Lomachenko, who turned down the fight because of a severe back injury. And then he told the world, he told Champside, it would be great for him to become undisputed. So I think that he had a change of heart at some point in time along the way, right?
Casual audiences. His skill in drawing attention and sparking widespread conversation is undeniable, and many in the sport credit him with expanding boxing's reach through creative promotion. However, showbiz also highlights the criticism surrounding Jake's career choices. The key concern among boxing purists is that he repeatedly selects opponents who are smaller, retired, or simply not true competitors at his level, a pattern that raises doubts about the authenticity of his success and competitive credibility.
Boxing is going to sing his praises like a hero. Though Jake Paul is definitely appreciated by the boxing world when it comes to what he is giving to the sport, especially women's boxing, okay? I mean, it goes without saying that Jake Paul, an MVP, has added to the sport of boxing. But Jake Paul, the fighter, people are over his shit. There's a huge amount of boxing pugilists in the boxing community who's over his shit. And if Gervonta Tank Davis stops that, if he is the one who stops this whole train, knocking out Jake Paul, he will become a boxing hero. People will then say, now get the hell out of the sport. And I'm talking about from a fighter's perspective. That's what they're going to say. Now, it's not going to go on either one of their official records because it's an exhibition.
This has caused frustration among fans who prioritize boxing's tradition of fair and balanced contests. Showbiz notes that the ongoing criticism has sparked debate over whether Jake Paul is benefiting or harming the sport's reputation. He stresses that if Gervonta Davis decisively defeats Jake, it could put an end to the era of mismatched bouts. In that scenario, Tank would not only claim a major win, but also be hailed as a boxing hero for upholding the integrity of the sport.
Visually, seeing that go viral, and I mean go viral, and Jake Paul will never hear the end of it.
Help you up. We're gonna see about it. Help you up. We're gonna see.
Because Gervonta Tank Davis is not only a real boxer, he's a real boy. He's 5'5". He's a lightweight. Skills pay the bills. Let him knock out Jake Paul, give him bandy legs, or knock him down. Gervonta Tank Davis, that moment, will go viral, and he will be a far bigger, well-known boxer than he is today, and he will also be a hero. And that's the Black Sugar. That you guys don't